I just wanted to begin by thanking Jesse, who I always call these days Jesse Walking Man Turner, and John Fauché and the TED team at the university for inviting us all here. I'm really grateful. Actually, it was Jesse who gave me the title. The title is Can Books Change the World? And I said, okay. So that's where I'm going. It's a dark story, and I worry about that, but the ending is not so dark, so I hope you'll bear with me. So can books change the world? We all know they can. Sacred books, great literature, Shakespeare, Dr. Seuss. But be skeptical. The world is changing, and there are many individuals and groups intent on protecting their own self-interest who have no qualms about obfuscating the truth. And some of that obfuscation is accomplished through writing books. And even renowned scholars who reject this malfeasance sometimes get it wrong. For these reasons, we need many sources of information in many books, and then we might miss what is right in front of us. Someday the world will end is the first sentence in the book, The End of the World, which was written, I have it with me, I got it in a second-hand store, which was written by Franklin M. Branley, the astronomer emeritus and former chairman of the Natural History Museum, Hayden Planetarium. He wrote it, and it was published in 1974. Someday the world will end, Franklin M. Branley wrote. Then on page 2 he states, this is a gloomy forecast, but one about which we should not despair. There are consoling factors. The end of the world will not occur in your lifetime or in your children's children. We can be quite sure that doomsday will be millions of years in the future. In 1974, that was our thinking. I was still in my 20s, and in the aftermath of the Second World War, young people in the UK were filled with optimism. We were sure we were making progress towards the creation of an egalitarian world. Young people today have no such delusions. Martin Rees, the renowned astronomer at the University of Cambridge, who describes himself as a concerned member of the human race, has actually written a book and recorded a TED talk entitled, Is This Our Final Century? And books such as the one by Lord Rees have indeed changed our thinking about the world, but not our ways of living in the world. The situation is now so grave, Lord Rees, along with world-renowned physicists Stephen Hawking and others, have established a centre for the study of existential risk at the University of Cambridge, where they are studying such things as the depreciation of Earth systems, biodiversity, climate and environmental risks, and managing extreme technological risk. And as scary as it seems, there are many scientists around the world across a spectrum of disciplines who are studying existential risk and are asking if this is our species' final century. But even though we hope this is not the case, there is little doubt that the world is changing in ways that will jeopardize the future of our children. Books by astrophysicists, climatologists, glaciologists, environmentalists are piling up. Articles are finally appearing in mainstream media, and the minds of the people are changing, even though the chairman and members of the Congressional Committee on Science, Space and Technology are still madly profligating climate denial and actively blocking the urgent need for an all-hands-on-deck response to climate change. But the public isn't fooled. Many people in the US and around the world have read the books that have been written and the reports that have been published, and they know that the planet is changing. Based on the evidence of science, we know that an unbelievable step change has taken place, and there has been a massive shift in our thinking about climate change because of all the information that is available through social media links to primary sources of data gathering on what is happening to people and the planet. It is now a well-accepted scientific fact that we have left the 10,000 years of stable weather patterns that were the signature of our beloved Holocene, and we have entered the Anthropocene, which is hotter, wetter, drier, more turbulent, unpredictable, and polluted because of human activity. In my mind, I can hold the hand, stretch out my hand, and I can hold the hand of my grandmother who was born in the 19th century. I have been held in the arms of my great-grandmother who was born in the middle in 1860, thereabouts. And I can reach out my other hand and I can quite literally hold the hand of my granddaughter who was born in the 21st century, who I also held as a baby. So I span 3 centuries. But it is not just that my life spans 3 centuries, or that I was born in a different millennium than my granddaughter, which is totally astounding to me, but that I was born in a different epoch to my granddaughter and to the millennials who mean so much to me. Boomers, my generation, were born in the epoch of the Holocene, while my granddaughter, children of boomers and certainly millennials were born, they are the first generation of the Anthropocene. If you are of my generation and your grandchildren will never experience life on the planet before climate change. They will never experience a time when we were absolutely sure, as Franklin and Bramley was, that doomsday is 1 billion years away. But we know it is not the case. My generation, born in the last century of the Holocene, is bequeathing to young people lives that are anthropogenic in a new century, a new millennium, and a new epoch that brings with it less certainty and many challenges that we ourselves have not had to face. Let us imagine, just for a moment, that we are still in the Holocene and we are whitewater rafting. It's a beautiful day, and the sound of water is music to our ears. It is crystal clear, and we feel alive and full of ideas about what it means to be human. Then comes the thunder of white water and awesome rapids, and we feel strong and powerful because we have our helmets on and we're wearing our designer life jackets. We feel victorious. Lulled by the stable weather patterns of the Holocene, we consider the planet at our disposal. Human ingenuity and technology can fix anything, right? But can it? Now imagine our children in the same location, but without a raft. They do not have helmets or life jackets. The water is not crystal clear. It is filled with the detritus of human activity on the planet. Our children are doing everything they can to stay afloat in the slurry of contaminated water with knapsacks strapped to their backs, filled with the college debts my generation has bestowed on them. The gap between rich and poor is increasing exponentially as the last Holocene generation reaps the rewards of a financial system that has favored them. The whitewater rafters with their ocean-going yachts have burdened our anthropogenic children with insurmountable debts. And many young people are now indentured in the technological workplaces of the billionaires who have shackled them through the use of quota systems and customer satisfaction surveys to rate their performance, to determine their pay packets and whether to fire them or not. Everybody cares about their kids, their grandkids, and the kind of world we pass on to them. President Obama says in conversation about climate change with Leonardo DiCaprio. But our response to anthropogenic change does not reflect that. Our whitewater raft is going so fast, we do not know how to stop it or slow it down long enough for us to save our kids and grandkids. The books we read, the articles we study, might very well have changed the world and impacted our thinking, but do we really understand what it means when scientists say to us, we're nearly cooked, or that all bets are off when we reach 400 parts per million of atmospheric carbon dioxide? Do we really understand that climate change is a threat multiplier? We know our coastal communities are vulnerable to rising sea levels and increased flooding, while droughts, wildfires, and more extreme temperatures could threaten many regions in the United States. But can we honestly say we appreciate how these extreme risks, the threat multipliers, will impact the lives of our children and grandchildren? We know global warming is melting the Greenland ice sheet, and the rates of the mass loss of the ice sheet is happening more quickly than predicted. But do we really understand what this bad news means, or have any idea what to do about it? In these precarious times of anthropogenic change, it is vital importance that we build new understandings of what is happening to the planet, so we can do our part to decrease the dangers our children undoubtedly are going to face. This is the reason that we founded Garn Press. We who live small lives cannot solve the vast problems of climate change, but we can contribute to the struggle. At Garn, we know in our hearts and in our minds that there is one indisputable fact. If human societies are to survive in the long term as well as the short term, it is imperative we do everything we can to increase the resilience of the social systems that are the foundation of our democratic life. At Garn, we consider it absolutely critical that we all work together to maintain cohesion within society, and that we support the caregiving professionals who work in the social institutions that are essential for human societies to survive. At Garn, we are not backward in coming forward in stating that we do not consider the oligarch philanthropists who use their money in divisive ways to dictate social policy are of importance to us now. We reject the political action committees, the PACs that are jeopardizing our democracy and delaying the government's response to the greatest disaster that humanity has ever faced. We know rich men will not save us. If we are to survive, it will be because of teachers and nurses of conscience and all those in the caring professions who are at the center of society, who make it possible for our children not only to survive but to thrive. At Garn, we are convinced that all those who work for the common good in the caring professions must be supported at all costs. This is not an ideological stance. It is simply a matter of human survival. To this end, we are primarily focusing on supporting the courageous teachers of conscience in the nation's public schools, because they are under threat, and the public education system is gradually being dismantled and replaced by charter schools, many of which, even when supposedly non-profit, are run like for-profit corporations, often supported by billionaire funders, with an ideological stance that is dramatically interfering with both the social cohesion within the United States society and the resilience of communities to cope with the threat multiplier of climate change and the concomitant social unrest. At Garn, we want the public to have the confidence of knowing what is happening in the myriad of situations that are negatively and positively impacting the struggle for social resilience and cohesion. We constantly are asking what educational and economic reforms are needed to respond to the rapid changes that are taking place to the planet and to human societies. We want to create greater transparency in the sharing of critical information about what is happening to people and the planet, so that the public has the best opportunity to participate in the decision making about their kids. To believe this, to achieve this, we are building partnerships and working with scientists and scholars who are actively producing the research on which decision making should be based. We want society to work for everyone. We agree with Pierre Bezukhov in Tolstoy's War and Peace that we all think we only have to be knocked a little bit off course and we've lost everything. But it's not only the start of something new and good. Where there's life, there's happiness, and there is a great amount to come. This is one of the reasons Garn is particularly interested in publishing easily accessible books by scientists and scholars, many of whom are teachers and first-time authors whose professional experience and scientific knowledge challenge the false narratives about human societies and unearth the propaganda that is often presented to the public as factual and the truth. Essentially, our task is to support a new generation of thinkers who are using the power of science and social experience to stand up for human rights, to participate in the struggle for the future in which Earth, we hope, one day will be a child-safe zone. In these most challenging times, we just hope that we can contribute to the social cohesion and resilience of communities as we work together with them to support the caring professionals who are doing the groundwork and are, to me, the heroes of our generation. I am so proud to be a teacher, and I'm also proud to work with teachers, and I feel the same way about nurses. We have got to support the caring professionals in our communities and pay a lot less attention to those who have power and money to manipulate what happens in society. Thank you.